Welcome back. As you can see through my time lapse, I finished all these primaries. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna attempt to do my secondaries. Let's start with green. So first I'm gonna orient my paper so that green is at the top, so it's easiest for me to get to. And when we're mixing colors, I'm gonna explain again. The first thing you wanna do is load your brush up with lots of water in the bristles. Make sure you got lots of water in here, get it in the bristle, and you're just gonna drop some water droplets on top of this color. Now, if you wanna preload some of the other colors you're gonna paint, this is a good time to do so because it lets the water start to get into the paint and soften it up. So I'm also gonna be painting orange. I'm gonna put a couple droplets of water on this orange right here. And then I'm also gonna be painting purple or violet. So I'm gonna load up and put some drops of water on this violet as well. And you're just getting the water in here. It starts softening up the paint so that when you go in to paint this, you don't have to work it as hard like I showed you on the primaries with like sandpaper. Okay, so now that I have a couple drops on the purple and on the orange and the green, I'm gonna go back to that green. And basically what you wanna do to work the color is you're gonna put your brush inside of here and you're just gonna move the bristles kind of in a hard downward push without damaging the bristles, and move it back and forth kind of like sandpaper, like you're smoothing out a piece of wood. Maybe some circular motions. And what you're trying to do right here is get this pigment as dark as possible to mix in the water so that you have a pure hue. It's fully saturated. So mix it around. This takes a little bit of time. This is why I'm put water inside of the orange and put water in the purple already to help it break down a little bit quicker. All right, so now I got this green and it's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna move my paint palette out of the way. And what you're gonna wanna do, once again, is nice, clean, straight strokes in the direction that your hand is already pulling. So I'm gonna start here, and I'm just gonna very slowly pull this across till I get to the end, and pick up your brush beforehand so that you don't accidentally go over the line. And I'm gonna do that on the top, go on the bottom. Every time I'm reloading my brush with more paint. Then I'm gonna turn my paper so that I can pull in the same direction that I just did over the top and the bottom. And I'm gonna do the sides. Nice and slow, connect it. And then on those two areas that I didn't go all the way to the edge, I just clean that up by going all the way to the edge. Okay, and then load up your brush one last time and just pull it through the center. And then you have a nice saturated hue of green. So while that's drying, and I already have green on my bristles, I'm gonna load up my brush with water again, and over to the side in my mixing area, I'm just gonna add the water that's with the paint that's already on my brush and water this down to create my tint. So now it's really thin and there's a lot of water in there. That's about as much as I need. And I'm gonna transition over to my smaller brush and I'm gonna dry my brush in between to get some of that water out because there's already enough water inside of there. And then this is what I'll use for my tint. And the smaller brush is good for getting in these tighter areas and being more clean. It's a little bit slower, but it works better for these tight areas. So as I'm going across the top right there, I'm gonna leave a little bit of a space so that I don't blend over because this is still wet. And if I paint another layer here, all this dark is gonna come into the light. So I'm just gonna leave a little bit of a space from there to there, from the top to the bottom. And then I'm gonna pull this water down. You'll see it's much lighter. As the water runs out of your brush, go back over, fill it back up, reload your brush, come back, and then keep pulling it down. Nice and clean strokes, trying to keep it even as possible. right, now my center of the hue is completed and my tint area is completed. And those are still drying, so I'm not gonna mess with them anymore. I'm gonna drop my little brush back in and slosh it around to clean it. My big brush has still a lot of paint. I'm gonna clean it up. In between each color, I just wanna remind everyone, you should always be cleaning the water. And so when your brush is loaded with all this water, what you wanna do is drag it across the edge and pull out all that water to get most of it out, because you don't wanna have a soaking brush. And then from there, I'll even dry it out a bit. And this can also tell me how much of that color is still in the bristles. So now I'm gonna go back over, and all this green that I already have preloaded in this palette right here, I'm just going back over here and I'm just mixing it back in, and I wanna get a nice strong pigment again like I did earlier to make the center. So I'm mixing that back in, getting it nice and deep. Mix it in to this little bit of water that I already had. And then we're gonna create our tone by adding just a smidgen of black inside of here. Now, before I put water in that black, I need to clean out this brush. So I'm going back over, cleaning it out pretty good. And then I'm gonna take some of that water and I'm gonna activate my black over here. And black is so opaque and dark that you're not gonna need a lot of it, so I'm actually gonna drag it across the top and kind of empty. I already have a lot of black in this bristle, and then I'm just gonna mix it in on the corner until I get the right color that I want. So that's very dark. It's more than I need. So I'm gonna actually clean out my black brush, dry the bristles, because I don't want to add any more water, and thin it out. And then I'm gonna start mixing just the green over on the side. Now this is I already added too much black, so I'm gonna go back over and I'm gonna pick up some more green. Add some more green into this. So that it's nice and saturated. Now this may seem like I'm taking a lot of time mixing these colors, but that's part of painting. And you want to make sure you make nice, beautiful, and equally mixed colors before you start painting that have the right consistency of if it's pure hue versus a tint, because you want it to lay in the area nice and consistent. All right, so this is about where I want it. It's got enough black in here now. Is pretty opaque, and then I'm just gonna follow the same steps that I did for the earlier ones. I'm gonna pull my brush nice and clean across this top, leaving a small space as to not combine the tint with the hue, or sorry, the tone with the hue. Reload my brush in between each stroke.
What I feel about myself, I feel there's the unknown, there's things I don't know, and that's what I'm striving for. To say that I know would not be true, because there are things I don't
If I need to turn my paper so that I get a better stroke, I will.
They come little by little.
Right now. And there we go. Now the tint, the tone, and the hue of the green are complete. So now I'm going to throw myself back into time lapse, and I'm going to complete the orange and the purple.